Hi, Lakeview. This is Mr. Cabe, principal at Princeton Elementary, bringing you another story moment. Here I am in my reading tree house where I like to come and read my books and do some journaling. And I came across a wonderful story that I'd like to share with you today. This story has to do with one of my favorite insects, a butterfly. And the book is called Adios, Oscar, a Butterfly Fable. It was written by Peter Elwell. And a butterfly fable makes me think, what is a fable? I remember a fable is a story where animals and other things can talk. So I'm curious to see what the butterflies have to say in this story. Interesting. I also like to know when I read stories like this, who drew the pictures or who the illustrator might be. These pictures are beautiful and very clear and crisp. While I could not find the name of the illustrator, I found that these pictures were all done with watercolor and ink, which means that the company that printed this book probably did the pictures. But what it also means is watercolors and ink is something that you could do at home to help create. So how might you create a character for a story? I hope you enjoy this book. This book is called Adios, Oscar, a Butterfly Fable. And again, the author who wrote the book is Peter Elwell. There was a house. In the window of this house, there was a flower in a pot. On a leaf of this flower, there was a little caterpillar. And if you'd ask this caterpillar his name, he would have to say, "My name is Oscar." Just what he said when a butterfly blew in from the sky, landed on his flower, and asked him his name. "Well, I'm pleased to meet you, Oscar," said the butterfly. "My name is Bob. I just flew from Detroit, and boy, are my wings tired. But seriously, do you know the way to Mexico?" "Nope, but I'd sure like those wings of yours," said Oscar. "Thanks," said Bob. "One day you'll have a pair of your own." "Really?" Oscar gasped. "Count on it," said Bob. Then fluttering off on the passing breeze, he shouted, "If you're ever down in Mexico, look me up." Another interesting connection that I make to this story is it mentions Detroit, where we all live around the city of Detroit. Very, very cool. Let's see what happens next. Oscar crawled as fast as he could to tell his caterpillar friends all about the wings he was going to grow and how he was going to fly far away, just like Bob the butterfly. "No one listens to butterflies," Squirmy sneered. "They just make stuff up. Besides, anyone with big crazy wings has to be nuts," scoffed Wiggly. "And who believes them is nuttier," Nibbles laughed. "Look at us," sang the three caterpillars. "We're Oscar, the amazing flying nuts." "You're starting to bug me," Oscar growled. "That's because we're bugs," they all laughed. "That's what we do." Then they saw a ladybug, and off they went to prove their point by bugging her about the spots on her back. Doesn't sound like those three caterpillar friends are very nice at all. I think the ladybug is just lovely with her spots. Don't listen to them. They're knuckleheads, whispered a little voice. It was Edna the bookworm, peeping shyly from behind Oscar's flower pot. But they might be right, said Oscar. And they might be wrong, Edna suggested. Want to find out? Looking first this way and then that way, she silently motioned for Oscar to follow her. They crawled off the windowsill, then up a bookcase until they came to an old book made of shiny brown leather and decorated with gold. Can't judge a book by its cover, Edna said, opening a small door on the bottom of the book. I wonder where they're going to go. I knew it. It was the door to the library. As far as Oscar could see, there was nothing but bugs, books, and bookworms reading them. Wow! Oscar yelled. Shh, the bookworms replied. Don't worry, said Edna. They love to do that. I love the library. And Mrs. Nepa does such a great job in keeping our library stacked with so many cool books. I found this one there, and I'm really enjoying it. Oscar and Edna found all kinds of books that said that caterpillars do grow wings and turn into butterflies, and that the butterflies look like Bob, do fly all the way to Mexico. None of these books said Bob was nuts. They said he was right. Oscar also studied maps. Mexico was thousands of miles away, which is quite far for someone whose whole world has been in a flower pot. It was a little scary, but the more Oscar found out about all the different places he'd see and different bugs that he would meet, the more he wanted to go there. Oscar also found out that they speak Spanish in Mexico, so he figured he'd like to do that too. He learned to say hello. Hola. He learned to say goodbye. Adios. He learned to introduce himself so everyone would know who was saying hello and goodbye. Hola, mi nombre es Oscar. But will they know me when I'm a butterfly? Oscar asked. Sure, said Edna, no matter what you are, you'll always be Oscar. Too soon the time came for Oscar to take that long caterpillar nap they'd read about. He'd sleep, and when he woke up, he'd have wings. Before you go, let's learn one more thing, said Edna, and they learned how to say goodnight. And goodnight means buenos noches. Oscar went to sleep and dreamed of distant blue mountains and all of the new friends that he met as he rode the wind out of Cleveland and all the way to Mexico. He slept, and he slept, and he slept some more. I think he's excited for his journey. Then one day, Oscar woke up. As he yawned and wiggled out of his cocoon, he felt something else wiggle on his back. Wings. He had wings, but something wasn't right. He also had an appetite, a big one. And why was he craving socks? "Hey, Oscar," Nibbles shouted from inside the closet. "Taste this designer sweater. It's yummy." "Look at us," yelled Wiggly. "We're flying around a light bulb for no reason." "Whee!" cried Squirmy. Well, isn't that funny that his friends who didn't think that he knew what he was talking about, now they're all butterflies too, and they are having a good time. Isn't that funny? Fighting the urge to head for the light bulb, Oscar flew to the mirror instead. "Oh no," he cried. "Someone made a mistake. I'm not a butterfly, I'm a moth." Now Oscar would never ride the wind. He would never see Mexico. For the rest of his life, he'd fly around a light bulb or sit in a drawer eating old socks. Oscar tried to make the best of it, even with nowhere to go. Flying sure beat crawling, and socks actually tasted pretty good. But when Oscar said, "More socks, please," in Spanish, it made him sad. It just reminded him of the blue mountains he would never see. Up here in Spanish, it says, "Más medias, por favor," which means "more socks, please." I did not see that coming in this story. What a twist. He found out he's not a butterfly. In fact, he's a moth. Interesting. Let's find out what happens next. He might have forgotten all about Mexico, but one bright night, Oscar happened to land on his favorite flower in the window. He hadn't come back there since he'd become a moth, and looking around him, a tiny piece of paper caught his eye. There was writing on it. This is what it said. "Dear Oscar, amazing things can happen when a moth thinks like a butterfly. Write me from Mexico. Love, Edna." Oscar felt the moon beckon on him like a big light bulb in the sky. Yes, he was a moth, and what a moth he could be. "Adios, amigos," said Oscar. "I've got a postcard to write." And off he soared, up towards the moon and into the great night sky. "Where are you going?" Squirmly called after him. "You won't get far," shouted Wiggly. "What's adios, amigos?" Nibbles asked. "Can you eat it?" Oscar received that note from his friend Edna, and now he can do just about anything, I think. The other moths figured he'd be back as long as there was a porch light to fly around. "After all," they said, "he's a moth. That's what we do." But that's not what Oscar did. Even with the porch light on, he never came back. However, there are blue mountains in Mexico. High in these mountains, there's a green field that is alive with countless butterflies. I love this page. Look at how pretty the pictures are and how vivid. In the middle of this field, there is a flower. Sitting on this flower, you'll find a moth who is writing a postcard to a friend. If you ask this moth his name, he'll most likely say, Mi nombre es Oscar, which means my name is Oscar. Dear Edna, I thought like a butterfly. Love, Oscar. P.S. Bob says hi. And there's his postcard. What I like about this story is that even though Oscar was a moth, he could do whatever he wanted to do because he set his mind to it. And there are things that sometimes I'm not all that good at doing either, but I practice and I try. And if that's the best I can do, I'm happy. Because sometimes, even though we want to be a butterfly, we might be a moth, but it doesn't mean we can't fly, does it? I wish you well, Lakeview. I look forward to the next time we have some time together. Be safe, and I'll see you soon.